With you for another week here on the Duncan Duo Real Estate Show, like we are every Sunday at 10, right here on WFLA News. Andrew Duncan, the Duncan Duo team, LPT Realty, DuncanDuo.com. When we aren't on air, follow us on all of our socials at the Duncan Duo, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. So I want to start off today talking about the Tampa Bay Rays Stadium and the proposals that are out there for where the stadium could potentially be and what that could mean to local real estate. And so the end of last year, our real estate market kind of slowed down. Our pending sales dropped. December wasn't as good. It was actually really good in my business, but for a lot of businesses and most of the real estate market, December wasn't a good month for Tampa. Pending sales were down. Sales were down year over year, and that kind of meets the theme across the country as pending sales stats came out for December and showed them down. What I've seen so far in January, especially with some of the movement on rates and some of the political movements, is definitely a pickup, in my opinion, where some of that loss of sales last year and that slowdown of pending sales has kind of started to that gap has reduced. But real estate is hyper-local. And when I say that, I mean it because there are things that happen in a community, in a state, and in a country that cause its real estate market in a specific small area to perform differently than the real estate in another area. You know, for example, if you look at parts of the country that are seeing population loss, and some of those right now, New York, California, are some of the prominent ones. Florida experienced population loss last year, and specifically Tampa, a slight population loss in Florida last year, very, 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 very slight. But in Tampa, we saw a reasonable loss of population, and a lot of that was storm-driven and hurricane-driven. So now that we've had another year post-hurricane, and the real estate market has started to normalize a little bit, and there's some government movement to try and improve and stimulate the real estate market, there are local things that also help move the needle for real estate. And one of those local needles, things moving the needle in the local real estate market right now, is the discussion around the Tampa Bay Rays putting their stadium in the area where the HCC community is really close to Raymond James Stadium. So you'd have the football stadium and the baseball stadium really close by each other. That's a theme that you see in plenty of major sports markets. Having gone to enough sporting events throughout the country, you see that regularly where the baseball stadium is close to the football stadium or the basketball arena is close to one or the other. It makes a lot of sense from an infrastructure standpoint. It's kind of a 1-2 punch for that portion of the economy, for restaurants and commercial development. It also eliminates some of the seasonal obstacles and gives the local area more year-round kind of love, so to speak. So the football stadium, for example, football seasonal, you got 16 games, you got some preseason games, maybe have some playoffs. It doesn't stretch, the whole year. Well, if you have baseball in conjunction with football, that area is going to thrive. So the area, in my opinion, that's going to most benefit from this would be the area around those stadiums, 33607 West Tampa, and then 33614. Those two zip codes are likely, and probably a little bit of 09, but 09's already a thriving real estate market because that's South Tampa and the Plant High School District. So those zip codes are going to really flourish should the Rays Stadium plan move forward. And that area has already started that movement, right? We've had a winning football team. We won a Super Bowl with that team. And then, of course, they've continued to be competitive post the Tom Brady, brief rental, you could call it, after they won the Super Bowl. That area has continued to thrive. You've got the Midtown development. You've got new restaurants popping up. You've got infrastructure improvements. And now you put the Rays Stadium in that, and I think it's going to continue flourishing. So if you're an investor or you're a first-time home buyer and you want to buy into a zip code that has a strong chance of appreciating and outperforming the market the next few years, I think those are two of the prime areas over the next few years, 33607, 33614, kind of that West Tampa, Central Tampa corridor. that will outperform the market the next few years. And it remains to be seen. Look, the Rays Stadium has popped up. There's been discussions and approvals and financial things that have happened that have rumored it to be, heading to lots of different places. And until it's erected, it doesn't really matter, and it could be years down the line. But I know a lot of smart money right now, and a lot of smart money is calling my office and saying, hey, I want to buy rentals in those areas, or I want to buy flips in those areas, or I want to move to those areas before the prices skyrocket. And, so nonetheless, there's a lot of discussion about the proposals ongoing for that. There's certainly a lot of urban growth happening in downtown Tampa with Water Street. Again, the anchor of Water Street is a winning hockey team. My hockey team, as the official real estate agents of the Tampa Bay Lightning, I can say that. That they continue to win, and it continues to promote development, restaurants, nightlife, all of those things, because you've got that anchor tenant there. And, so if you look at the real estate values around Water Street, they have considerably improved. They bring in money, they bring up values, they bring in population, they bring in fans with concerts and games. All of that is good for a local real estate market. So if you add the second punch to that West Tampa area, you've got Ray J, and then the 1-2 punch with the Rays. That area, similar to what you saw with Water Street, I believe is going to massively thrive the next few years, especially if they continue winning. And look, if you look at our sports teams, man, it's one of the things that we're so blessed in Tampa Bay to have, winning sports teams consistently. And it's no secret that most of Tampa Bay is coming from somewhere else. Okay, as I poll and talk to people, and 20 plus years in the real estate business, moving people here and sometimes moving people out, the majority of people that live in Tampa are not born and raised in Tampa. So they've come from somewhere else, and they're likely a sports fan. And when we have local sports teams that are winning, we adopt those fans. They may be a Giants fan, at heart, but they're going to root for the Bucks as their second team because they can go to games. They're going to root for the Rays, and the Rays have won with a lot of limited resources. So if those teams keep winning, it just keeps driving our real estate market. So I believe over the next few years, we're going to see an improvement and a wave in that 33607 and 33614 zip code. Great investment opportunity zip codes, great areas to move into, a lot of development coming. And then, of course, if you get another anchor tenant, just like you have with Ray J, you get another anchor there with the Devil Rays. And I'm not supposed to call them the Devil Rays anymore, it's just the Rays. But if you get another one of those there, it's going to just continue. That area is going to continue thriving. So I'm really excited about it. I think makes me even more bullish about Tampa real estate when you have three winning sports teams. Not a lot of, if you look throughout, the sporting world, there are not a lot of cities that have three winning sports teams. Number one. And number two, not a lot that have three winning sports teams within a 5-mile radius of each other. When you look at some of the major markets and you hear like the Los Angeles Lakers or the Los Angeles Dodgers, do you know how far apart and how long of a drive it is to go from Dodger Stadium to Staples Center or whatever they call it now? I think it's Crypto Arena now. And again, so you look at major cities, very rare is it that those major cities have three winning sports teams that are in close proximity to each other. It's just going to explode our area. So I'm excited about it. I think that's been one of the weakest things about Tampa Bay as a target market for a long time was the location of where the Rays were located. It's why they didn't draw attendance. It's why they have low payroll because they're not making a bunch of money. They had a stadium that was in a bad location, and no matter what, okay, as a real estate guy, no amount of improvements is going to turn around a bad location. Real estate is all about location. They could have massively improved Tropicana Field and spent billions of dollars on it, and it wouldn't have mattered because the location was not ideal for the population. It was not ideal to get people there, not for Florida, okay? It wasn't working. The proof is in the pudding, the statistics, the attendance, all of that. However, they still kept winning. So a better location will prompt more attendance. It'll just improve all the way across the board the economics of our area. And so I'm really excited about it. I think that it is a great thing for Tampa Bay. And one of those things that over the next few years, like I mentioned, will really help propel our real estate market. Something else this week that I think has the potential to help propel our real estate market, though on a very nominal scale, it appears that President Trump is moving forward with executive actions to ban, hedge funds and institutional investors from buying and holding. I think there's a unique distinction there, buying and holding single-family home inventory. Now, it's going to take a little while before this can trickle into actually being enforceable and getting supported and having policy around it, because his executive order is instructing these things to start. So it doesn't mean like today Blackstone, Invitation Homes have to stop operating and buying homes. There's going to be, some stuff to work through. The point, though, is that it is a small percentage of inventory that I think doesn't move the market a lot, but it is positive in a small way to help give first-time home buyers those crack at those homes. Look, it would have been a lot more effective 4 years ago, 5 years ago. The math, though, doesn't work as well, especially in markets in Florida because of taxes and insurance. The math doesn't work as well in our market for buying single-family homes and renting them out. So there's not as much of it. It does happen. They certainly do acquire homes here, but they're not the big bad wolf that they used to be. So the premise in our market anyway is that it's not a lot of movement, but what it really does is if that passes, it's not going to have like an impact now. But as the housing market comes back in Tampa Bay and starts to improve and we start to see appreciation again, it's holding it back for the future. So I don't think short term it has much of an impact, but long term, should these things continue moving the market, we see some drops in insurance rates from mortgage-backed security bonds or Fed rate cuts and Treasury yield improvements. If those things move the market and the market starts improving, we start to see appreciation again in our market. That's when the hedge funds pounce. That's when they jump into a market, is when they're seeing, like we saw a few years ago, 20 and 30% appreciation in a year. They're going to jump into a market. Well, we don't have that right now, so they're not buying in mass here. But these policies could, as long as they get executed and passed, they could end up insulating buyers in the future from being, outbid by these hedge funds as they would move to a market. So hopefully all that makes sense. We'll be back. We're going to continue this conversation. What I want to talk, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about next. So just stay tuned. We'll be back on the other side after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show. So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show, Tampa Bay's number one real estate team, the Duncan Duo team, LPT Realty, WFLA News, every Sunday here at 10, always here spitting out the real estate knowledge and information. But what I want to get to you next is really kind of alarming. And at first I had a hard time believing this, especially when I, consider my 21-year history in real estate and then just looking at the statistics and the agent productivity on my team. And the statistic that I saw was that 71% of real estate agents did not do a single transaction last year. 71%. So all the people that that are on social media and they're celebrating and showing off about how they're a new realtor and they're doing all this stuff and they're out showing houses, 71% didn't do a transaction last year. 86% did 4 or fewer transactions, according to a National Association of Realtor statistics. That means only 14% of real estate agents are really actually active. And the risk is that the other 86% are out there soliciting business and trying to get you to use them. Maybe they're your friend or their family member, or your cousin or your uncle or who knows. And they're soliciting your business and they're, convincing you that they know what they're doing. And they're out there giving a lot of really bad advice. I cannot tell you how many horrific real estate transactions my team has worked through recently, and we look up the other agent and determine that they've not done any business. And so as a consumer, first off, on my team, they have to do business or they don't stay. My average per agent productivity is like 4x what the market average is. Our agents are productive. They sell. We keep them busy. We generate a lot of leads. We hold them accountable. We have a different structure. We take transaction stuff off of their plate. We allow them to really focus. We give them admin support. So our agents have to produce or they just don't stay. So if someone's been with me a while, they're selling a lot of real estate. Okay. It's just the reality of a business like mine where we have an expectation of productivity and a high level of service to our client. So understand that of the real estate agents that 86% of them are living below a wage that they would get if they worked at Walmart based on that statistic. Yet, because they're a real estate agent, because you might feel like you should use them, you're getting bad advice. Your transactions are going south. Your deals are not happening. You're selling for less than what you should have because you're dealing with someone inexperienced. Imagine having some complicated health or legal matter, and you decide to go to your friend because, they're your friend and they posted, some cute stuff on social media about real estate, and you go to your friend and, they botch it. Or imagine that you go to somebody to operate on your brain or to, to help you with some legal matter, and you find out that they only helped 3 people last year succeed. That is the reality. The statistic tells us that most consumers don't understand about real estate agents. Look, if my team didn't sell billions of dollars of real estate, I wouldn't be on the air right now. I wouldn't have this show. You wouldn't see my ads everywhere. You wouldn't see billboards and radio commercials, and you wouldn't see my ads at the Lightning game. Okay, success leaves clues. There are so many consumers right now picking the wrong real estate agents just because they know someone that got their license. Getting their license does not mean they have any idea what they're doing other than just avoiding lawsuits. It doesn't mean they can get you to the finish line, and those statistics clearly show you that, considering that 86% of real estate agents had a failing year last year. If someone sold 4 homes, just to put this into perspective, okay? So that statistic said 71% didn't sell any, and another 15% sold between 1 and 4. So 86% sold 4 or less, okay? In our market, somebody selling 4 homes, let me do the math for you really quickly. Average sale price, let's just round it off and call it $500,000, okay? $500,000, let's call it and again, commission varies, it's negotiable, there's no standard. So I'm only going to speak about an average that I've seen in my business. So let's call it 2.5%. So call it 12,500 times 4. People think, oh, they made 50 grand. No, they didn't. They did not make 50 grand because they paid a broker split, they paid insurance, they paid costs, they paid admin stuff. They might have made 20 grand. Okay. So 86% of real estate agents don't have really enough money to even have a marketing budget to advertise your home, but that's who you're hiring. And you're hiring them because you're either looking for somebody that, that, like I said, that that you can't validate their success, or they're willing to do it cheaply because they have to, because they don't have any marketing budget to spend, because they don't make any money. So they can't market your house, and then it's a perpetual cycle of failure that you get sucked into because you picked somebody that's operating and performing at a massively low level compared to the top level. So proceed with caution. If you're buying or selling a house, my goodness, make sure that you're picking somebody that is experienced and knows what they're doing. We would love to help. My credibility and track record with my team speak for itself. The reviews, the number of sales, the amount of time in the marketplace. But man, there are a lot of agents out there that are guiding people poorly, and the consumers are not doing a great job with picking their agent because they're not finding ones that produce. And if you're picking an agent that doesn't know how to navigate through a transaction because they've not been in the trenches and done very many of them, your real estate transaction is going to crash and burn. So we're auditioning for the job. We would love to help you sell your house. We would love to help you buy a house. DuncanDuo.com. You're going to get an experienced, well-coached agent that has an infrastructure behind them, and not somebody that's operating at the bare minimum or at zero. So we'll be back, continue this conversation after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show. So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show talking about the Tampa Bay real estate market. Andrew Duncan, the Duncan Duo team, LPT Realty, at the Duncan Duo, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, and DuncanDuo.com if you wanted a quick cash offer to get your home sold, to get out from underneath it. Again, DuncanDuo.com. Came across something this week that I felt like was a good education moment for the listeners today, because again, I mentioned in the last segment, 86% of real estate agents did 4 or fewer transactions last year, and over 70% did 0. There's so many, there's so much going on in this industry, and there's so many agents that are just not keeping up, whether they have a part-time job, so they're not keeping up with what's going on. They're not properly educated because a brokerage, gives away, so much in the split that they don't have any money to pay for coaching or, teaching their agents. And I came across this week with an agent that clearly doesn't have the experience or coaching that my agents do, because they kept talking about how their client didn't want to pay flood insurance because the house was in a flood zone. And I want to make something clear, because this is a massive misconception here. When you see zones based on flood zones, that does not equate to a home needing to have flood insurance, okay? They're not the same thing, right? The zones that you see, the flood zones that you see, those are evacuation zones, okay? So if you're a real estate agent and you think you're spitting knowledge to your client because you're telling them to avoid the flood zone so they don't have to pay flood insurance, you're wrong, okay? The flood zone, is there a correlation? Is it likely that a house in a flood zone will need flood insurance? Yes. It is elevation that matters, okay? It is the elevation certificate. It is the elevation of that house that determines the flood insurance, not the evacuation zone, AKA the flood zone. So if you're a consumer and you've heard your agent say, oh, we don't want to buy that house because you have to pay flood insurance because it's in a flood zone, they don't know what they're talking about, okay? Flood zones and flood insurance aren't the same thing, okay? Flood insurance is predominantly, now, are there some other factors? Yes, but it's predominantly determined by the elevation of the house. There are plenty of homes that we have sold in evacuation zone A that don't need flood insurance. And there are plenty of homes that we've sold in AE or X, okay, that have flood insurance, okay? You have to know the difference between those two things. And again, it goes back to what I said before. There are 86% of real estate agents that haven't done, that are performing at a below average level annually in this country. They're out there selling real estate and giving people advice. They're out there giving people bad advice because they don't have the training, okay? They don't have the coaching, and it's why they're not productive. So then the customer works with them because they're like, oh, well, this guy's licensed and he's my buddy, or I met him at church or whatever. That is not a qualification for the most expensive thing that you're going to buy or sell, having a quote-unquote license. You know how many licensed people are terrible? I deal with it all the time. So if you have an agent that doesn't know the difference between those things, please consider who's representing you, and please do your research about how many transactions your agent has done. It's interesting because, this is another common misnomer that I hear in the industry. Well, I've been doing this for this many years. Okay. I've been an agent for 20 years. Okay. Well, if you did one deal a year for 20 years, you're really not exceptional. The amount of time that you do something does not mean that you're good at it. Okay. It's the number of at bats. It would be like saying, I've been a professional baseball player for, 15 years. And then they've never been in a game. And then you got a guy who's played 2 seasons and hit 50 homers a year. Who are you picking? Not the guy that's been sitting on the bench for 15 years. You're picking the guy that's been an all-star in 2. And that's the same thing that you see. The time in the industry isn't the thing that you need to pay attention to. It's the number of deals they've done, because the deals are how they learn through things. They learn how to advise their clients. They learn how to negotiate. They learn how to strategize. And more importantly, they learn how to problem solve. Real estate transactions have lots of problems. The best real estate agents are amazing problem solvers. The ones that do one deal a year, they're not getting enough at bats to become effective at problem solving. You're going to get bad advice that's going to cost you money and time. So back to the point, flood insurance isn't completely dictated by flood zone. The flood zones that you see out there are really based on evacuation. So again, just one thing I notice with the kind of that drop in per agent productivity. And as those agents don't produce, here's what ends up happening, okay? And this is why it's really crucial to be super cautious about working with an agent that is part-time and that doesn't sell a lot. Because when they don't produce, they have to go get income somewhere else, okay? So they're going to go get another job, or they're going to work a side hustle, or they're going to drive for Uber, or they're going to bartend. They're going to do other things, okay? There's only so much time in the day. So when they say, man, I'm not making enough money in real estate, so I'm going to go do something else with my free time, and I'll do a deal here and there. Here's the problem with doing the deal here and there. They're not going to the brokerage's training, okay? They're not going to get the compliance updates. They're not getting time with the lender to coach them about different things. They're not talking to the insurance agent about how to navigate through flood insurance and flood zones. They're not learning the new contract language, okay? They're not learning how to effectively bulletproof a transaction, right? Because they're out driving Uber deliveries and doing a deal here and there for their friends and family that they're clearly, in a lot of instances, probably not doing a great job of. So as a consumer, I want you to be super cautious with when you decide to hire a real estate agent. You want to look for the best, and you want to look for somebody that's full-time and that has a track record. When you don't do that, it is costing you. And you might think, oh, they're giving me a break on the commission. Cheap work ain't good, and good work ain't cheap, okay? I promise you, the money that you think that you're saving, you're going to lose somewhere else. So again, we're applying for the job, DuncanDuo.com. Would love to help you. When we aren't on air again, please make sure to follow all of our socials at The Duncan Duo, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. So on my prep for today's show, I did something I hadn't done yet. I have multiple assistants that work for me, and through the years, I've always had my assistants prepare talking points for each show. And what I really want is kind of a summary of, hey, what's happened in real estate nationally this week, what's happened in the real estate market, the realtor community, and in Tampa Bay. What are the things that I need to talk about in today's show that are relevant and up to date? And so I've been talking to my team a lot about AI, and I'm a big proponent of AI. It's going to massively change industries. Is it going to cost some people some jobs? Yep. But is it also going to increase income and productivity for others that adapt and evolve and work with it? Yep, that too. Is it going to have massive implications in real estate? It 100% is. So I've always had this, and I've been preaching to my team for so long. I share tips and tools and different apps that I use, ways that I, generate documents or ask for opinions or get alternative viewpoints. And so today, on the way to the show, instead of looking at the articles that my real estate team pulls for me, and they're pulling them from a bunch of different sources. They're pulling them from, Realtor.com, Zillow, Inman, different news organizations, CNBC, whatever's been talked about in real estate, that week, that's what they're talking about. And so I had a bunch of friends this week that were at the they weren't at it this week, but they were sharing me some information about real estate. They were at the CES conference, which was, say, like a week or two ago in Las Vegas. And, looking into like the different apps that are coming and AI sensors and home energy, smart home technology, robots, all this kind of stuff that eventually is going to have a massive impact in the real estate business. So as I was, talking to them yesterday, I decided, I was like, you know what? Instead of taking the articles that my assistants prepare for me, I'm going to skip the articles this week, and I'm going to ask Grok. Grok's what I use. It's Elon Musk's XAI, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I'm a Grok guy. It's my favorite, large language model AI chatbot. So I asked it. I said, hey, what is going on in national real estate and what's going on in Tampa real estate? And then I wanted to compare and contrast with the articles from, a myriad of different sources. So I combed through the articles, and then I look at what Grok threw into the chatbot with me. And it made me realize, like, how, and again, I already use AI a lot. I would say 50 to 60 inquiries and questions and searches into Grok on a daily basis. So I would say that I'm probably in the top few percentage points of activity for people that are using AI. But it's one place that I hadn't adapted yet. And so when I compared what Grok put together, and then I compared what my assistants that I pay for spent time putting together, and then the time that I would have to browse through all those articles to figure out which ones I liked, Grok summarized it so effectively. And when I looked through the articles, before I looked at Grok, by the way, I had like a handful of them. I'm like, okay, that's relevant, or this is relevant, or, I like this one, I don't like that one. This one is kind of fluff. And when I asked Grok for basically the highlights of the last week, it absolutely nailed it, to the point where I had like a couple of paragraphs, some talking points and bullet points. And it goes back towards how effective that AI can be. But I want to caution you on something, because while it is evolving, okay, and while it is effective, and I use it, and I'm an advocate for AI, and I'm an advocate for how I'm evolving my team with AI. We have AI texting, AI emailing, we have AI oversight on our database. We use AI marketing tools. We use AI to determine the types of campaigns that we run to help sell our listings, how to determine which areas to market the property to. It's amazing how far it's moving, but there are still areas where it's lacking. And one of those where it's lacking in AI is with home values. I ran it through a few home value estimates, and it was comparable to what, Zillow and Redfin and some of these other websites will spit out. But there's a reason why the data still won't nail home values and why it's going to have a problem. And it's simply because the AI can't get inside your house. Okay. Now, it's getting there because eventually everyone, in my opinion, okay, that wants to stay up to date on their home value, here's what's going to happen. Here's what's happening with AI. Right now, you have your Zillow estimate, and it's off. Okay, I'm just going to be honest. It's off. It's massively off. If it was really accurate, Zillow would have made billions of dollars flipping houses. Okay, their estimate that they used to buy and sell real estate was so off, and they were losing so much money that they abandoned it. Okay, so it's not there yet. But how it can get there, I use a few different apps to track financial investments, net worth, and my portfolio. And they're signing in and logging in and performing valuations and looking at comps on a daily basis. Eventually, in my opinion, what's going to happen with the AI services, especially as it comes related to your home value, is no different than a financial portfolio. The majority of consumers that own homes in this country are going to log in either to an app or to AI, and they're going to upload 50 to 100 photos of their home, and they're going to provide a description about the inferior and superior things about their house, and then that can start to get home values in an AI format accurate. But an AVM, those types of things, until it can get into the house and until it can provide commentary and communicate with you about what's going on in your house, it can't, it's not like a financial account. It just can't move the needle like that. So anyway, I'm going to be back continuing with our last segment after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show. So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show talking about the Tampa Bay real estate market. I have two positions that I am looking to hire for in my companies. And I want to put this out there in case you know someone that might be looking, or you know someone that knows someone that's in the industry. But there are two positions that I'm looking to hire in my company. First and foremost, all of our advertising is working so effectively that we need more real estate agents. And, so the ads that we run on radio and billboards and TV and some of the stuff we're doing with AI and, how great our reviews are, all these things are bringing in more business than my agents are able to keep up with. So we're looking to hire agents. Specifically, I'm looking to hire an agent to work with home sellers so that we can continue serving our home sellers and customers that look to sell their home and get max value or max convenience with a quick cash offer. So I'm looking to add a listing agent or two to my team. We're always looking to add some buyer agents as well because our ads are creating more buyer leads than we can keep up with. But specifically looking for a listing agent right now. If you or someone you know is an experienced listing agent, we would love to hear from them at jointheduo.com or send us a message on any of our social channels. We're looking for someone with some experience. Not necessarily has to be a experienced listing agent, has a substantial number of transactions that they've closed. Even if on the buyer side, we can coach them on the other side of the business. But we are looking for a couple of agents to work with home sellers. So if that's you or someone you know, hit up jointheduo.com. Again, listing appointments set for you. Massive number of listing leads, huge brand presence in the market, and an opportunity to have leverage so that you can go out and sell and make money and not have to deal with all the the nuances and details that bog salespeople down. So again, you can do that, jointheduo.com, or message us on any one of our social channels. The other position I'm looking to hire for is for our mortgage partner, Citywide Home Loans, Citywide in Tampa. You can go to citywidetampa.com, or you can message me personally on any of our socials. We are looking for a loan officer that wants to focus on helping refi customers. We know that the refi boom is coming. We know that there are going to be enormous opportunities for us to help people like you right now listening to this show that have a high interest rate and want to lower your interest rate. Looking for someone that can do that, that's effective at that enjoys that, to join our mortgage team. And you can message Melissa at citywidetampa.com, or you can, again, go on to any of the socials and DM me as well. So we are in growth mode, like I mentioned before. And if you're a real estate agent or you're a mortgage loan officer and you're not getting the leadership that you want, you don't have someone that's teaching you about wealth building. You don't have someone that's helping you become an agent to work with sellers. You don't have the structure and the accountability to succeed, or maybe you're one of those people before, one of those 86% of agents that did 4 or fewer transactions last year, and you realize the way that you think you need to work isn't working. And you're ready for a new way, and you want to make a substantial income and be in the right environment. We are adding more agents to our team, more loan officers, lots of opportunities. And again, you can do that at jointheduo.com. But I want to be clear about something too. If you want to join our company, one of the things that we're really passionate about is making sure that our agents and team members can get along and work in a team environment. We have had agents in the last 6 months that we have exited from the company. We've actually asked them to leave because they couldn't get along well with others. They had lots of complaints. They might have been a really good salesperson, but they were an absolute cancer for the customer and for our team. So if you're somebody that doesn't get along well with others, if you're regularly telling people and putting it out in the universe, oh, I don't work well with others, we don't want you. Quite frankly, we just don't. We don't want somebody that wants to go do their own show. We want a cohesive team that can win together and win championships and break records. And to do that, we need people that can get along. And that doesn't mean everybody needs to be kumbaya and love everybody, but far too often when we have people that don't match our culture, a culture of positivity, a culture of honoring teamwork, integrity, positivity, leadership in the market, all of these things matter to us. And when you're not following that, you just don't end up meshing with our company and you don't last. So if you know that you're not a positive person, if you know that you don't get along well with others, if you know that you lack integrity, if you know that you don't really want to lead people, and you don't want to be coachable or accountable, then you're probably not for us. But if you check those boxes and you want to be a part of something special, make more money than you're making now, hit us up at jointheduo.com. Again, you can also go to any of our social channels, at The Duncan Duo, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and message us directly. But the 2 key positions that we really want to fill soon would be an agent to work with home sellers, a listing agent that would be coached and trained personally with me, daily huddles with me, where you're going through your stuff and you're improving and you're becoming a better agent. And in addition to that, we're looking for a loan officer that wants to focus on refinances. And that doesn't mean they can't eventually work purchases. It's just we need somebody that's really going to be focused on helping our clients and our past clients and our community save money, because we believe that we're heading into a market where we're going to see interest rates softening, and there are a lot of people out there that could save substantially by refinancing, and we want someone that can serve those customers and help them achieve their financial goals. So if that's you, again, join theduo.com or message us on one of our socials. And that's all I got for today. Hope you have an awesome rest of your weekend, Tampa Bay.